In this video learning series, we will be installing AccuSQL 2018. More specifically, we'll be installing the software, opening the software for the first time, entering the activation code, logging into the tutoring sample database, installing the SQL native connectivity client, creating a blank AccuSQL database, connecting to the SQL Server database, and accessing information on importing data to our newly created blank database. If you are an existing user and you want to upgrade an older AccuSQL database to version 2018, there is a database operations video on our YouTube channel that can better assist you with that. Let's get started. When you receive your USB key with your software package, go ahead and plug it into your computer and you should be able to see the same files that I have in front of my screen right now. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to select the AccuSQL executable. And what you'll see here is a series of options available to us, including install AccuSQL 2018. Let's do that. There are some great features on the AccuSQL executable file, such as videos and just walkthroughs for installing the software. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and click Next. Go ahead and read through the terms in the license agreement, accept, and hit Next. Then we're going to set up the username and the organization, like so, and then we're going to hit Next. We recommend that you keep this as the default path, but if your business needs require you to have a different path, that's acceptable, of course. Go ahead and hit Next, and then we recommend that you install this application to all users. So I'm going to go ahead and click on all users. If you get a security pop-up, just go ahead and click Yes, and that'll allow the software to continue installing. And once the software is done installing, we're just going to click Finish, and if you have the Launch the Program checked, then we will be able to just log right into the program. So let's go ahead and do that. And right here it's already prompting us for that activation code. Let's go ahead and click Yes, and then I'm going to go ahead and enter my activation code. Your activation code will be provided with your software package. And as you can see, you'll have this little pop-up. It's just some tips. You can of course disable that. I'm just going to hit Close for now. And you'll see that the software loads into this, what we call the kiosk view. And that's mostly just so your students and tutors can't just be using this particular unit for anything other than signing in and viewing their activities, setting up appointments, stuff like that. However, you as the system administrator or the system administrators will probably need a little bit more freedom, so we'll get into that momentarily. As far as the username and password, the username is going to be 91, so 111111111. And then the password is going to be new. That's NEW, all capital letters. That is the default user and password. And as soon as we try to log in, we'll get, of course, the warning letting us know, hey, you probably should change your password. That is the default for all our software. Okay. And then let's go ahead and get into the actual system administration window. You'll see down here you are not connected to a SQL Server database yet. And that's because we, of course, haven't done that process yet. We'll do it in a moment here. First, I wanted to go ahead and show you if we click on Sign In Setup, left-hand column, and then we go down to the bottom where it says Setup here, click on Setup, we'll be able to actually unclick that Run in Kiosk Mode option, and that will allow us to have a normal window where we can now push AccuSQL off to the side if we need to work in a different program. Let's go ahead and save that. I'll go ahead and show you how that looks. And there we go. Now we can move AccuSQL off to the side or minimize it and work on other programs. Let's go ahead and log back in. Okay, so now that we're back in our system administration window, let's go ahead and get our blank database started. Before we do that first though, we have to go to our C drive, program files, and I'm using a 64-bit version, so I will be using program files x86. If you're using a 32-bit version, you'll just use program files. And we're looking for AccuSQL 2018. I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and then we're going to scroll down till we see SQL drivers. Again, same deal. If you're using a 64-bit version, you'll use the x64 version. If not, you'll just use the other version. Let's double click on that. This is what's going to set up our SQL Server native connectivity driver. So this is a very important step. Go ahead and click Next. Again, read through the terms and license agreement, accept, and hit Next. A username and a company, next, and then we recommend that you keep client components. You do not have to choose SQL Server native client SDK. Go ahead and hit Next, and let's install the software. A security pop-up, just go ahead and click Yes. That'll allow the software to install properly. Click Finish, and we'll go ahead and move that window out of the way. Okay, and now we're going to set up the blank database. To do so, we're going to go to the database option on the right-hand column. Click on that, and then we're going to select the Create Blank SQL DB. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. We're going to enter our server name. At this particular point, you will need system administrator credentials. And as far as the server is concerned, you should only need to enter your server name. In my case, however, I have my server pointing to a specific port, so I will need to go a little bit further than most. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and switch this to SQL Server authentication, and then we're gonna put in our system administrator credentials. And then we're gonna name our database. At this point, let's go ahead and test our connection. Perfect. And then I also recommend we create a public account for this database. I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm just going to do AccuTrack. So let's go ahead and create that blank database. And here we go. AccuSQL is now creating our blank database and loading some blank tables. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and close out of here. Now we're still not quite done. We can't just go straight to importing data. So now, again, in the database tab that we were just in, and we're still in, go to the database location module. And we're going to set up the location to our database. So we're going to select SQL Server, hit Next. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and set up the name again. Again, you should only need the server name, but as mine is a little different, I need to go a little bit further. Okay, and then now I'm going to select my database. Now I have quite a few databases, so it'll take a little bit of time to populate. Okay. Now I'm just going to scroll down to the database I just created, ESI3 2018. I'm going to go ahead and test the connection. Still good, perfect. I'm going to save. And now we're going to get a message here. Okay, so connection info saved, SQL database changed. You must restart the application for the changes to take effect. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to close out. And then I'm going to hit exit AccuSQL here at the bottom. I'm going to exit the program. It's going to have a pop-up come up. Do you want to back up data? No, we don't, because we don't actually have any data in our database just yet. I'm going to click no, and I'm going to close out. Okay, my program has come back up. I'm going to enter the username 9 ones and the password all capitals new. And there we go. Okay, now that we're back in the system administration window, let's go ahead and just go quickly to users. We'll click on students here, and we'll see, oh, don't have any data. So let's close that out, and let's go get some data. So we're going to go back to database on the right-hand column, and we're going to choose the import. And unfortunately, I don't have any data to load at this time, but what we do have here in a very useful button is need help. Click here. This is going to give you all the information you need on how to load the data tables, and it will also give you some sample tables that you can actually load on here just to kind of play around with and test. Okay, and the main ones being, of course, student information, the activities table, the staff table. Please go through these. It'll also advise you on how certain data needs to be written into the table in order for it to be imported to AccuSQL 2018. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this learning video, and we certainly hope you join us for the next one. Have a wonderful day.